Wonderful. Hello, Silver Siren. Welcome to our masterclass, The Need for Rest and Restore with Mandy Price. I'll hand over now to Mandy. Hi, Mandy, over to you.
Thank you very much, Faith. And I'm very appreciative of having literally a platform upon which to greet you all and chat about something that I'm really quite passionate about. So, when Faith just said her community is about supporting women to be as healthy as they can, perhaps for as long as they can, I remember redefining aging. I don't know whether that was a topic that Silver Sirens addresses, but I am noticing the consequences of getting older. And the idea of looking after myself and being healthy is a priority for me. So I also, like Faith, am a psychotherapist. Hello, Monique. Hello, Vasily. Counselor, I say, but I also use psychotherapy strategies and techniques. But I was originally a teacher as a health and personal development teacher. That was phys ed teacher. So I ran around the oval a lot, and I tried to get young girls to be fit because I did teach in quite a lot of girls only schools, and I've always had a sense and a desire to commit to female empowerment, starting with the young girls. And 40 years later, the need for that is even more extreme. Things have the way our society has gone has changed dramatically, and I think it's quite hard to be navigating that as a young woman, a middle-aged woman, or an old woman. So when I myself had had enough of teaching and needed to step away for reasons that many people do, it's called bullying in the workplace. I'm sure that people are not unaware of this occurrence, and it gave me a bit of adrenal burnout. So I think if not familiar with that, it's basically we get exhausted. And I'm not the only one who's experienced that. I mean, I got to my exhaustion through a number of life transitions happening quite close together. And even though I was a counsellor and I had tools, it still happened to me. But I did recover, and it took time and money because I didn't have my mojo anymore. I mean, I loved having energy, and not having energy and get up in the day and do things that I wanted to do was very concerning. So when I finished teaching, I had a little year where I thought I could run a business perhaps with my skills. I was a celebrant, a counsellor, massage therapist. So I began a business called Welcome to Wellness. And I began it with such enthusiasm, but I didn't actually have the energy for the first 9 months because I went to the doctor and he said after tests, well, your cortisol level is quite high. And I said, okay, well, what does that mean? And he said, just rest. Now I had no dependents. I was on long service leave, so I was financially okay. But when I did recover and go back to relief teaching in school, I came across women who were definitely on the road to burnout and who couldn't rest. If they fell in a hole, if they crashed and burned, all those people that they were running around, a 5 and a 7-year-old off to family daycare and pick up from school and managing a household and doing their own paid work, if they crashed and burned, all those people for whom they wanted to care then had to become the carers for them. So I thought this is pretty dire because we are on a road to a health crisis. And I got a lot of inspiration from a book by Dr. Lee Weaver. Can't see it because I'm on blur, but it's called Rushing Women's Syndrome. I'll read you the title. And the impact of a never-ending to-do list on your health. So she's a very well-versed biologist, a EP. She tells a story of her own burnout and what she did to recover. And she talks about the fact that women now have the opportunity to do their father's work, but they still have the responsibilities of their mother's roles. So data is telling us that women are still doing the bulk of the childcare, the bulk of the housework, and they're still managing work outside of the home. So look, I'm all for women's liberation. I'm a feminist, but I think we've gone a bit far. We've earned the right for all of these things, but it's backfired in a sense that Not a lot has been taken off of our to-do list, and the men haven't really stepped up to being able to share the tasks unless they're quite progressive or they have an employment that allows them to. So I really do believe that women are at risk, and my small bit to support the women in my life is to run retreat days for them to rest and restore, and to remember the importance of rest, because our society is not tuned for us to rest. We're not actively encouraged. We're actively encouraged to be very productive because we live in a man's world. And the masculine energy is one of doing and building and making and activity. And a feminine energy, which all people have, they all have a masculine and a feminine side. But we women, and many of us, are being caught up in a male way of doing everything. And our divine feminine, I don't mind using that word, is kind of getting lost and squashed and exhausted. And we know we live in a man's world because men like information and data, or maybe call it left brain. So that female sense of intuition, of knowing, that women have had forever, men have it too, but women tend to have a much better sense of knowing and intuition. That is often derided, it's not listened to, it's squashed, and it's certainly not valued at board meetings or share market meetings or banking, or even law. And when women step into those fields, in order to survive them, they have to play along with the male games and the rules. And, we've made some great changes, but I think what's happened along the way is a wave of women being incredibly exhausted. And there's health consequences for that. There's a huge increase in autoimmune diseases, mental health issues, because I'm going to subscribe to the idea that our emotional and mental health, if it's not tended to, can create physical health ailments. We're a whole body. We're not just a body. We're a mind, a spirit, and a body. And in a world that rushes us and causes us to be everything, to maybe helps us feel like we need to be everything to everybody, then our own sense of a softer way of being, a more feminine way of being, a more receptive and nurturing way of being is not given the credit or the time or the space. So that's where I came from. So the retreat days that I run is about learning some strategies that allow your whole system that's in fight or flight, our system. And I'm excluding myself from this because I've had many times when I thought I'm getting close to the edge. I've got to start to walk the talk. I tell women to rest and restore, and here I am taking another thing on and creating another project and getting excited, and not saying no. So it's a difficult skill to develop, but I believe it's a necessary one for us to maintain good health, mental and physical. Because if we don't stop saying, yes, if we don't start setting boundaries, and if we don't value our own well-being, we are at risk of crashing and burning and becoming unwell. So the book that Dr. Libby Weaver says, she's got a list here of things that you can kind of, a checklist, like, am I possibly operating or in fight or flight, meaning our adrenal system's pumping out the cortisol and the adrenaline so that we've got the energy to do all the things we need to do. Possibly there's things, a list of symptoms you could have a look at and see if maybe some of these are your symptoms. And you know what? If you're older and you're not under the pump, perhaps like you were when you were younger, you may have already got some great strategies that rest your nervous system. But it's possible you also know younger women who are experiencing the symptoms I'm just about to read out, and you might have experienced them yourselves. So she says, here's some symptoms that might indicate that your body system needs support. You regularly feel stressed or on red alert. No matter how carefully you count calories and exercise, your body shape and size is a mystery to you. You crave sugars and or starches. You love coffee, energy drinks, and anything that contains caffeine, although sometimes you notice that they make your heart race. You startle easily. You often don't sleep well. You don't wake up restored with good energy. You regularly feel tired, but wired. You are a warrior or a drama queen. You feel anxious easily. Your breathing tends to be shallow and quite fast. You struggle to say no. You laugh less than you used to. Everything seems urgent, and you feel like there aren't enough hours in the day. So I think there's a lot of us living like that. My daughter's 32. She knows this stuff. She's been to my retreats, but her life means that with 2 small children, a career as an occupational therapist, running her own business, I can see that she's tired and wired. And as a nana, I do my best to support her, but I can't make time for her to go to the gym, which is where she finds her outlet. I can't do her notes at night after she's had a day of working, tending to her children and needing to do her notes. I can't help her with that. I could encourage her to simplify her life, but that's where she's at her stage. So I think until we get to a point of realizing that this is a bit of a crisis, some people are stepping away. I think after COVID, a lot of people decided to make their life a little bit more simple. And I know that there was some movement from cities into regional areas, and there were people making decisions about perhaps living on 1.5 incomes because they wanted quality time with kids or each other. So I do think there's, a possible movement, but on the whole, there's a bit of a mania out there. And I will mention another lovely book, because when I went and did some more study as a counsellor, I did a course called transpersonal counselling. So, often counselling is talk therapy and CBT and things like that, but psychotherapy, which is what Faith also does allow you to go a bit deeper with, a little bit more of your own inner knowing and higher consciousness. So the book that we got recommended was called Grandmothers Counsel the World. And because we were learning about rituals and ceremony. And that author of that is Carol Schaefer, Schaefer, but it might be a bit hard to get hold of. And I loved it because it was all about the fact that these grandmothers, 13 of them from Indigenous cultures, had through their own prophecies been told that one day they were going to be on a council that was going to come and support us in this era to learn ways to cope with the weirdness of our world at the moment. And they have got wonderful words of wisdom. They talk about the importance of our connection to nature, the need to become more spiritual rather than overconsumed with materialism. They talk about the breakdown of the family and what we need to do. And when I'm at retreat, I read a little bit from the book. And if you'll spare me the time, I'll do that again and read to you. It's called We Are All Meant to Live in Peace on the Planet, just as for a single family. The basis for healthy relationships among the family of nations is love and unity, along with a reverence for all of life. However, in these times, the family is being undermined and is disintegrating, and we are becoming prey for the dark forces of fear, a growing plague for all of humanity. Separation, fighting, and segregation within families and among nations are taking over. Everyone is staying isolated, not understanding anyone else's way. As time continues to speed up, we have no time for each other. No one takes the time to get to know each other, and such isolation creates a spiritual separation, and eventually there is only darkness and negativity. And she says this about families, and I really do believe it. Families must consciously slow down and simplify their lives, the grandmothers say, in order to become strong again. Time is a gift. We need to learn again how to operate at the pace of the living world, the plants, animals, babies, And old people can teach us how to slow down and live and take time to nourish ourselves and our families. And I live on my own, and I notice that my community is scattered, and I have to work really hard and proactively to create community and connection. And I have another friend who's feeling tired of being in the suburbs. She goes over to an island on Greece and lives with villagers. And she says, Mandy, it's so different. Have a square, a town square. We invite people over for meals, blah, blah, blah. That's not what I have a capacity to digress, so I will stop. Is there anybody who'd like to make a comment before I keep rambling?
Thank you, Mandy. Yeah, there's a lot that I'm learning already, and I really love that first book you referred to, that never-ending to-do list. And as you were talking about it, I could so identify. And I find that what happens for me is I'm very good at putting time aside for rest, but I can create space, and before I know it, I fill that space again really quickly. It's like I'm powerless over doing that, you know. And I remember years and years ago, a therapist saying to me, "So, what are we going to do about your busy addiction?" You know, and I wanted to hit her, but she was right. She was right, and I know that my default is that busyness. So, thank you so much for just bringing this to our consciousness, because I think it's one of those we can easily just work through, work over. So,
Yeah.
thank you. So, yeah, I'm going to open it up just so let's get a couple of people's voices who would like to make a comment about what's your level of busyness, or just anything that Mandy has said. Who would like to chat? Just put your hand up or just unmute yourself.
Well, if you
No,
can tolerate my,
Yvonne, yes. We
yeah.
can't. Can we try and do your video?
Well, I am actually in bed.
Okay, no problem. You just share. Just
So
that's no problem.
I'll well, I'll put myself on video, and then if I think it's too hideous, I'll quickly go back. Oh, it's in the dark. Well, there you go.
Beautiful. We can still see you. That's perfect.
Oh, there's a bit of me. Yeah, look, I think everything that from reading that book is a synopsis of so many things. And even though I've talked about it with people I've known for a few years, intimates, no one has time for anything anymore. And you know, when I'm feeling really needy, I do reach out, and people just can't help me socially because they're so caught up in their own thing. And if I can be very personal here, I've said to other people that people with families really have no concept of what it's like to not have any. And that's where I fit myself in. And you know, it's frequently a conversation stopper. Whereas I would love to open it up for people to say, well, what, how come you don't have family? And then, you know, it brings out an intimacy, but never gets quite really into that, unfortunately, for me currently. So, yeah.
I definitely hear you, Yvonne. And I only a few Sundays ago, I ran a workshop called Solo Living for Women, the challenges of living on our own. But that is another topic all of itself. So
Yes, yes, indeed.
yeah. And I've still got so much to get through. Can I continue on here, Faith?
Oh, please. I appreciate you listening. Thank you very much,
Yeah.
everyone.
Thank
Thank
I
you,
feel for
Yvonne.
you, Yvonne. I hear you. Yeah.
Thank you.
So I guess what I'd like to say is, yes, there's a definitely addiction to busyness, and we could unpack that and say what's going on. Or there could be, why is it that we don't value our own self enough and think that we deserve to rest? Because I've got female friends, one of whom says, oh, well, Bruce is out in the garden and I'd feel too guilty if I hadn't. And I'd say, well, Bruce is choosing to be in the garden. You've done all the stuff you need to do. Why not? Because I'm a terrific napper, and there's a real movement towards napping. And I'm going to share with you another interesting book. It's fascinating. It's called Rest is Resistance. The author, maybe you know of it, Tricia Hersey, an African-American woman it says free yourself from grind culture and reclaim your life. So it comes about because she's talking about her own race of people whose bodies have been used predominantly for labor and productivity. You know, black people have been in the slavery. And she's saying, I'm declaring war on that. We're going to rest. Our resistance to you using, exploiting us is to rest. And she's created a thing called the NAP ministry. And she creates a space where people come to town halls or churches and they nap together. It's not necessarily, she might give them a bit of a meditative trance to help them relax, but they nap together. And I'll just read a few of her little gems. And yeah, she says, resting our bodies and mind is a form of reverence. When we honor our bodies via rest, we are connecting to the deepest parts of ourselves. We are freedom making. What stories are we holding deep inside that are untold and uncovered because we are too exhausted? So when you're renewed, when you're restored, you've got more capacity to share intimately, like you're looking for, Yvonne. You know, you want connection that's not superficial crap. But we're so involved in stuff. We're distracted with screens, with media, with trivia, that I find there's not a lot of time for deep connection, which is difficult. She also says rest makes us more human. It brings us back to our humanness. To be more human, to be connected to who and what we truly are, is at the heart of our rest movement. So I would highly recommend that particular book. I haven't actually finished it, but I've been penciling in many lovely highlights. And she's using the word resistance because she's saying we have to make a stance against grind culture, a capitalist system that puts us in an environment where we are valued by our productivity. As Brene Brown says, you know, people often measure their self-worth by their net worth, how much we earn, how much we own. You know, that's the driven culture. And I can speak about this because I'm an older woman who's financially secure. I don't have to work. I like to work. And maybe if I was 35 with a mortgage, I would be in grind culture and just accept it. I'd like to think that I wouldn't. But I think we need to wake up a few more people to, you know, what's being done to us, and particularly us women. I'm a celebrant. I've married over the 15, 20 years, I've married couples. The rate at which young people are divorcing is phenomenal. You know, I've married them and I'm now seeing them separated, and those women are coming to my retreats because the masculine feminine energy is right out of sync. So we live in interesting times, and you know, men need support as well. But I just threw that one in. That wasn't the point of my discussion. But what I want to talk about is why we don't rest. I think many of us are good girls. We've been brought up to do the right thing, which includes pleasing all the people all the time as best we can, not rocking the boat. We are naturally nurturers and carers and givers. That many of us, it's a feminine trait. Not everybody is, but you know, predominantly. We have to constantly prove ourselves. You know, the I'm not good enough stuff will always come to the fore. That in order to prove that I'm good enough, I have to keep doing what everybody's asking of me. We can be perfectionists, which takes the joy out of life, and that drives us to keep doing and proving. Maybe health hasn't been a value of ours. Not everybody puts time and effort into their health because they just naturally got good health, or they don't see it as a priority. For me, you know, health is your wealth. I say to the kids, let's say you won the lottery, you won $1 million. And the next day you go to the doctor and he says, look, I'm sorry, you've got a brain tumor that can only be treated in this particular hospital over in America, and it cost $1 million. What do you spend your $1 million on? You put jet skis in your flash house if you haven't got your health. So I think valuing health to me is a really important thing. But we don't, because we feel like we've got to look after everybody else. So rather than delve into why we don't, I want to give you some strategies to think, okay, I am important enough and worthy enough to rest my body. And if I don't, I could get sick, and I'd rather not. So the beautiful grandmothers, it's not in their book specifically, but we know Indigenous cultures have 5 healing balms, and you might be aware of them, Yvonne. And they are movement, music, silence, storytelling, and nature. So if I do a day retreat, I incorporate all of those things in one day, and you get a little bit of a taste of them and what works for you. So some people know their balm is nature. And they say, yes, I haven't been camping with the kids for ages. I haven't gone walking down the beach for so long. But when you go there, guess what? Well, that cortisone, that adrenaline, all those stress hormones will just naturally be lowered, because a natural environment has what we call negative ions, IONS, and an unnatural environment where there's fluorescent lights, electromagnetic radiation, steel, metal, man-made things, all of those emit positive ions. They're not that positive to your health if they're in excess. And if you've been in an office all day at a computer, your body's going to be electrically charged with more positive ions. So get out at lunchtime and walk into a park. You know, be outdoors as much as you can. Silence. How much silence is there in a day? Unless you make it conscious, and some people don't like silence. They'll be in their home alone and they'll turn on the radio, or they'll put on some music. But the value of silence is enormous. That's why the whole thing about mindfulness and meditation is coming into the West, because we're starting to recognize the need for silence, which allows self-reflection and peace. I talk about our world is like a perpetually shaken snow dome, you know, all those flakes of drifting around. But when you put it down and all the flakes settle to the bottom, you get this beautiful clarity. And when we're silent, and if you're clever enough to stop the noises, and you won't do it right away, you won't do it in your first week, month, or maybe year of meditating, but you may get to a point where you are better off physically and mentally for some silence. You know? That's why people, when they go to retreat, many of them do the silence. The 10-day Vipassana, never done it, but I can understand the value of it. Eat, pray, love. Remember, Elizabeth Gilbert went off to India. She was in the ashram. So, yeah, silence is lovely, but many people choose, find it really difficult to put that in their day. And we seek out noise. We're continually bombarded with noise, whether it's radio, television, or whatever, or other people's voices. So if you know you're a bit frazzled and a little bit, your cup, I use the analogy of our cups being empty. These things that I'm going to talk about are ways of filling up that cup. It won't take the stress and the busyness away. What it may do is allow you to be in a better position to manage it healthily, instead of reaching burnout, being resentful, being angry, being wired all the time. There's a saying that says, hurt people hurt people. And there's a saying I've coined, it's called stressed people stress people. So I think we've got a responsibility to manage our stress. Because do you want to be the one in the office that everybody, as soon as you rock up, sort of turns away and rolls their eyes and says, oh, no? Because you're coming in a chaotic state, or in the dramatic state, or you're all ready to bite people's heads off. And I'm sure none of us are like that. But we have a responsibility to be the best version of ourselves, which might be being a calm person, being a kind person. And the other consequence of being overstressed is that kindness is often one of the things that gets lost or missed, because we're so stressed, so urgent, we're kind of consumed with all that we've got to do, that we haven't got the time to be kind to others, or maybe as empathetic as we'd like to be. And you know what? I think the best way to be kind to others is to start with yourself. If you can't be kind to yourself, if you can't quell that critic in your head that's going to tell you everything you've done wrong, that you're not good enough. That same sense of unkindness probably, will reach out to others. So when I was at Instagram for a little while, my handle was Mandy Kindness Coach, because I'd say to people, I can't create world peace. Who wouldn't want that? But what I can do in my small way, not wanting to be part of a corporate world, is support people to learn how to be kind to themselves. Because once a person is kind to themselves, what are the chances of them being able to show kindness to others? It's increased. So self-kindness, self-compassion, self-love is at the crux of everything, but certainly self-care. So seeking out ways to do that, and I don't mean go off for a manicure once a fortnight or a massage. They're nice things to do, but to physically rest your parasympathetic, the parasympathetic nervous system is the calmer. The sympathetic nervous system is the one that creates the cortisol and the stress hormones. You need to really be doing things like walking in nature, sitting quietly, movement. Some people get their hit and their stress release through movement and dancing. We dance at retreat. We put on groovy, fun music. And you know what we even do? We dress up. Because who doesn't want to be funny? Who doesn't want to laugh? Because laughter can, oh, look, that's not my favorite one. Let's try that one. Yeah? Because when you're laughing, you're emitting the endorphins. And I think we've all got a bit serious. We're so busy doing, achieving, and chasing and following. And I'm exhausted talking about it. So, and storytelling. All right, I have a grizzle with my friends. We went on a trip to Borneo, my friend and I were in a tour group. And at the end of the night, we both looked at each other and said, yeah, that was good. But did anybody ask us anything about ourselves? I'm a counsellor. She's a people's person. So we ask people. People love being given a floor and talk about themselves. But every now and then I'd stop and think, okay, let's see how reciprocated this is. It isn't. Have people lost their curiosity? I don't know what it is. But what that means is people's stories aren't being heard. And if you're naturally a storyteller, and everybody knows in Indigenous culture, everybody's got a role. You're the medicine woman, or the herbalist or the storyteller. And stories don't go for long. We've only got short concentrations, so people don't give you time to tell a full-on story. We even do jokes at retreat. And everybody says, look, I haven't got one anymore. My uncle used to tell great jokes. He'd come in and he'd tell you about the person down the street. And you'd be, getting sucked into this story, thinking it was the person down the street, and then boom, boom, it had a great punchline. And we were listening attentively for all that time because they was expressive and, But I don't feel that we have that opportunity much anymore, unless it's constructed, unless you have a night with friends and you go around and talk about stuff, Funniest childhood memory, or most embarrassing moment. Anyway, I digress. I have a habit of doing that. So let me just go back to energy. So what I like to say at retreat is, you now have the means, not that we've had an hour because I'm conscious of time. Yeah, I agree, Yvonne, that we can change our physiology. And if you're really depressed and you need an antidepressant, so be it. I get that. But if you're on the verge of just sadness and mood swings, think of your tools. Get up and walk, get up and dance. In winter, I was quite blue, and I got the vitamin D spray because I realized that I experienced seasonal affective disorder. Where's the sun? I'm sad. So I'd get up and put on a silly dance track, and that would change my energy. Or I would listen to good music. I sometimes go for a swim. Or I might ring up a friend who I know is really funny and just get them to make me laugh. Because we're a chemical factory. And you can sit with the cortisol and the adrenaline and create more, when you know you're there, it's quite easy to get into that, I'm going to kill someone, I'm going to scream and shout mode. And we all know what it's like to be highly stressed. Or you could say, actually, there's half an hour between, well, I'm driving home tonight. This is what I used to do as a teacher. And I'd often be out on the oval as a phys ed teacher in winter, and it'd be cold, and I'd be shouting and packing up all the gear and doing more work than the students often. And I'd get into the car to drive home, and the heater was on. I'm going, oh, this is luxury. And I'd get very sleepy. So instead of driving into my driveway, I'd go on, because I'd live near the beach, I'd go into the car park and pull the chair back and just lay back and give in to that sleepiness. It's delicious. I'm sleepy, and I'd just fall asleep. 15 minutes, I'd wake up, drive into the driveway, and it's like I've taken Miss Price hat off, and now I'm in mum hat. And I say to women, give ourselves some full stops. Because when we come from a stressful situation at work into a possibly demanding situation at home, we haven't given ourselves a time to recover. So could you spare 5 minutes in the car if that's your only opportunity for privacy? Could you say, maybe if it's your turn on tea duty, I'll be there, but I'm going for a couple of walk around the block for a couple of minutes before I start. Can you intersperse your day with something that will bring that high level of stress down? Because traditionally, we had stress, caught the mammoth, overcame the trauma, and then we come back to the hearth as as cave people, and we'd sit and recover and rest. Now we go, work, pick up the kids, tea, answer some emails, got to walk the dog, list of things to do tomorrow, better ring up sick mum, I've got to tell you, we juggle. I was going to juggle for you, but I won't. I'm running out of time. We've got to find some gaps between the tasks. The consequence of not can be dire. So even if you're not a rushing woman, and people say, what, rush? And I said, no, not Russian woman, rushing woman. Even if you're not one of those, it's possible you're still storing stress. And it's possible you know of and maybe live with or have family friends that are in that level. And maybe just being aware of that for the next week would be good, and commit to doing something. Have I got much time? 5 minutes?
Yeah, you do. You've got up until 10:02, and then we're going to bring it to the women for discussion, okay?
Well, it's I'm in South Australian time, so does that mean I've got till 20 past?
Yes.
Yeah, cool.
Yes.
All right, so I'm going to give you 2 things to contribute. One is, in the next week, what's one thing that you might do that's kind to yourself? And maybe what's a take home from what I've said today? But while you're thinking about that, that's a bit cruel, isn't it? I'm asking you to multitask. I'm going to read you something from another beautiful book called Michael Leunig, The Curly Pajama Letters. Michael Leunig, he's a philosopher. And this is a story about
We
rest.
can't see it. Just
It
tell
is
me the
hard
name.
because
We can't see it. That's okay. The curly pajamas. That's okay. Just tell me the name and I'll put it in the chat.
No,
the
I'm going to
unblur.
Unblur. There you go. The background's not bad. Michael Leunig, The Curly Letter. Yep. All right. So here's what Leunig says. It's a bit long, but I'll try to make it interesting. So this is sets of letters between Vasso, and who's the other? Mr. Curly. Mr. Curly lives at Curly Flat. Vasso is a duck that goes and explores the world, and they correspond. So what is Vasso the duck learning, and what has Mr. Curly got to share? So Vasso has already written to Mr. Curly and asked in this letter, Mr. Curly, what is worth doing and what is worth having? And in response to this question, Mr. Curly says, Dear Vasco, I would like to say simply this. It is worth doing nothing and it is worth having a rest. In spite of all the difficulty it may cause, you must rest, Vasco, otherwise you'll become restless. I believe the world is sick with exhaustion and dying of restlessness. While it is true that periods of weariness help the spirit to grow, the prolonged, ongoing state of fatigue to which our world seems to be rapidly adapting is ultimately soul-destroying as well as earth-destroying. The ecology of evil flourishes, and love cannot take root in this sad situation. Tiredness is one of our strongest, most noble, and instructive feelings. It is an important aspect of our conscience and must be heeded, or else we will not survive. When you are tired, you must have that feeling, and you must act upon it sensibly. You must rest like the trees and animals do. Yet tiredness has become a matter of shame. And I'll just throw in there that Dr. Libby Weaver says we are waking up with coffee and going to bed with alcohol. So we are using drugs for our energy levels. And we all know what a big coffee culture we've become. Tiredness has become the most suppressed feeling in the world. Everywhere we see people overcoming their exhaustion and pushing on with intensity, cultivating the great mass mania, which all around is making life so hard, so ugly, so cruel and meaningless, so utterly graceless, and being congratulated for overcoming it and pushing it deep down inside themselves, as if it were a virtue to do this. And of course, Vasco, you know what happens when such strong and natural feelings are denied? They turn into the most powerful and bitter poisons with dreadful consequences. We live in a world of these consequences and then wonder why we are so unhappy. So I urge you gently, Vasco, and you women, do as we do on Curly Foot. Learn to curl up and rest. Feel your noble tiredness, learn about it, and make a generous place for it in your life, and enjoyment will surely follow. I repeat, it's worth doing nothing and having a rest. Yours sleepily, Mr. Curly. So I encourage you to rest, and I'll leave it at that.
Yeah, I really want to curl up in a little ball now. Thank you. I love those the 5 medicines. I don't know if the word medicine was what you used, but that's what I got was the 5 medicines. So I really thank you. And mine was the 5 was movement, music, silence, storytelling, nature. And mine instantly was movement, silence, and nature. Oh my God, I love those. And I've done Vipassana a number of times, and you talking, I'm going, oh my God, maybe I need another 10-day Vipassana. I'm going to be there.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Thank
I'll
you.
just add, I add one more salve to that. I call it a balm or a salve, and it's laughter.
Yes.
I think
Soul
laughter can
balm.
be an incredibly healing quality. And,
Yes.
you know, I think joy and playfulness, because I'm also on the board of a thing called Interplay. I'll send you the link to that, where people use their bodies for movement, storytelling, voice work. And I come out of there after an hour and a half, I found my tribe and I'm laughing. So laughter and play is a 6 balm, BALM or SALVE or medicine.
Wonderful. Thank you. Beautiful. Hey, I want to go to Monique. You look like you're ready to add something.
Hi. Actually, I was lying on the couch. You have a very soothing voice, Mandy. It was like a meditation. I was listening to you.
Good.
So, yeah, so very good message for me at the moment. Yeah, I've just kind of gone through an unwanted spiritual awakening and ended up in hospital. And then so crazy stuff, like not going to go into it, but I'm kind of on the other side of that now and getting back into things and being super careful with who I hang out with and what I do to let all the integration kind of happen. And yeah, I was wanting to get back into it a little bit too quickly. So thank you. You kind of going to slow me down for another week or 2 weeks. So thank you.
Good.
Thank you. What about you, Chanel?
What?
Just anything you want to add. I want to ask you, which of yourself, movement, music, silence, storytelling, nature, or laughter?
Movement. I
Oh,
haven't been
yeah.
able to run all week, so hence I'm going to Central Coast after work tomorrow. Tomorrow I can go for like a 5K run, but I'm going to do a small one tomorrow morning because I just realised my body needs it. And when you said laughter, when you added laughter, I 100% agree because it's endorphins. It makes you happy, just feel good again. And I listen to podcasts where people will say they're watching this show and it's just so good to have laughter. And it's like we live in a world where there's so much doom and gloom. To have something that makes you laugh and just be a pick me up, it's so important. So yeah, definitely laughter.
Can I just
Beautiful.
respond to
Thank
that
you.
one quickly?
Yeah.
Because remember, we're talking about stress and tension. And how many times have you been in a situation that is stressful with tension or lots of concentration, and someone cracks a joke and you all laugh? That breaks that stress and that energy, doesn't it? You know, like it's a circuit breaker, and it's lifting the mood rather than staying in that
Yeah.
mode. Yeah, get laughing.
But I also think because we're talking about at work today, where the FD put a comment in the group chat. Oh, I'll be at work tomorrow to have school fees to pay, and nobody laughed, and he was really upset. But we're like, well, we didn't know if you were being serious or being funny. You've got to put a smiley face, or so we know. And I think things are lost in translation if you're online. You need that person. Yeah.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Thank you.
Beautiful. Thank you. Okay. Vasilia, welcome to the group. Do you want to add your voice?
Yeah, I think what gets me grounded is I love to go for a walk, and I find that really soothing. And I also love the silence. Like I can be at home and all of a sudden I realize there's no music, there's no outside noise. And it's just such a sense of calmness. I absolutely love it. Just absolutely love it. The thing that I'm missing is just the laughter. I think I just have to do a little bit more of that. But everything else I can resonate with. Dr. Libby Weaver's book's fantastic. I read it a while ago. Yeah, so it all resonated tonight with what was being said. So yes, thank you. It was lovely. It was great.
Beautiful. Thank you. Okay, Yvonne?
Yeah, I'm a great fan of silliness. And it became a serious conversation. I joined, I think, about 2,000 people of the queer community up at Broken Hill. And if there are people who know how to have fun, it's the gender benders. And it was a Priscilla festival, and we all dressed up the most ridiculous things. I spent a fortune on buying sequined outfits, so, but it was just the sheer feeling that I'd become a child again, and I wondered, where did that all go? Can you remember laughing yourself silly as a kid, where your belly actually ached? I remember that, and I'm thinking, got to find those belly laughs again. So being silly, dressing up, and just losing yourself in play is really got to be so good. And I had it intensely for about 5 days, and I'm looking forward.
Bet you felt on a high after that, because you were just so topped up with. Yeah, it lasts. Yeah. Can I just make one more comment? Oh, sorry, Yvonne. I don't want to interrupt. Sorry, your turn.
No, that's okay. I'll.
So play has been proven. You might know Brene Brown. She's written a book called The Gifts of Imperfection. And she has a whole chapter devoted to the gift of the importance of play and rest. And she quotes another neuroscientist, Stuart Brown, who's done studies about play. And that, I just read a bit about the importance of play, allowing creativity, teamwork. It's better ways of solving problems. Like, there's huge value in bringing play into a workplace. It's not frivolous and a waste of time. It allows good, productive work to happen. And we've lost that. We're so busy collecting data and information that I know workplaces, you've got to get it done, and you've got to get it done in this time frame. And yeah, so play has a lot more benefits than just allowing us to be silly and funny. There's neurological benefits as well as workplace benefits. So keep laughing.
Beautiful. Now, Anna, I know you've got your camera off, but did you want to join us?
Yeah,
Yeah, go for it.
it was really good to hear laughing. I want to get back into my everyday, right, and not be removed from it, but also to hear to daily change your ions. Like, it seemed like that was a real flag for me. Like, it was very personal.
Good.
Yeah, thank you.
Welcome.
Thanks.
Beautiful. So I think that Mandy, you had an exercise for us then. So maybe we'll go around the room and we'll do that. Think of one kind thing you can do for yourself. I think that was the homework you gave us. Yeah?
Yes, well done for remembering. Excellent. Keep
No
them
problem.
accountable, I say, Faith.
Oh, everyone knows me. I'm good at that. Excellent. So I guess I should start. Who wants to start? So it was interesting because I want to confess, because a friend of mine, I'm in London, a friend of mine has booked us in tomorrow for a treatment. It's going to be a few hours. We're going to be doing a bit of a working lunch, but it's going to be a treatment. And I woke up today just going, I'm just too tired. I don't want to do it. And as we're doing this session, I've gone, but it's actually a rest period. It's actually an opportunity to really recharge our body. So you've just inspired me. So instead of saying no to it, I'm going to say yes to it. So that's going to be mine.
Girl.
Excellent. Yvonne, I'm just calling names on my grid. So Yvonne, you're next.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to the Sirens lunch on Sunday. And so I'm going to rest up, as I have not been well, and whiz out a cookbook on early Sunday morning and carry over some food to meet other silver sirens.
Beautiful. Thank you. Thank you. So if you're not sure what Yvonne's talking about, if you're in Sydney, we have our Sydney Silver Sirens lunch this Sunday. If you're in other parts of the country, we do have them dotted around. So if you're interested, let me know. Okay. So let's go to you, Chanel. What's yours? What's your kindness, self-kindness?
I'm going silence. Give myself an hour of silence. I think I'm used to I'm thinking used to the meditations having a background music. But I'm going to try and do a very minimal, maybe. I think I'm going to meditate for an hour, but it's going to have minimal, like maybe just less words, just a minimal music, so that I can really deep go into it. So I'm not ready for the silent retreat. I need to be like 2 days, not 10.
Yeah.
But I think I want to get better at meditating. Yeah, because I haven't been doing it probably for quite a while. I'll go to sleep to meditation, but not do it. But a meditation, yeah, definitely working on that.
Thank you. Okay, Monique.
Ordering 2 lots of Thai and entree.
Yes. I feel so excited for you. Yes, beautiful. Okay, Vasilia, you're next.
I've just got the dog racing around. Look, just Chanel was saying it's really getting back into meditation, I think, is I've just let it go. And also every day don't have a sense of urgency that everything has to be done in one day. Just take it easy. And if I can't do it, or just say, no, I'm not doing this today, I'll do it tomorrow. So just focus more, be kind to myself and just say that everything doesn't have to be done in one day.
Great. That's a big learning.
Yeah.
Can't do it tomorrow.
I'm gradually doing that.
Why do today what you can put off till tomorrow?
I say leave it till next week.
You just keep pushing it back. It's the next life. You can just wait. Now, over to you, Anna.
Yeah. I'm gonna be more kind to myself by reaching out with a funny friend and just who I haven't seen for a while and seeing them.
Beautiful. Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay, so the only person we haven't brought in was Shala. I know that you like being in choir, but did you wanna add your voice? If not, just put something in the chat and then we'll. Yeah, I've already had my nap for the day. Yes, yeah. Shala is a big fan of the nap industry. I'm a massive fan of naps industry, but Shala says she's already had her nap for the day. So wonderful. Thank you. So we're going to just round up there. Just back to you, Mandy. Many last words for us or anything you want to say to close?
No, I just love having an opportunity to spread this message. And I know that many women are already conscious of it, but the level to which we transfer what we know we should do into taking action to do it is sometimes a different thing. And it might be attending a group where you experience, again, walking and doing a silent walking in meditation, going and joining a laughter yoga group, actually, going back to your yoga, taking action that isn't a chore. It's something that will top you up. And then it's like any habit. You do it the first time, or it worked, or it didn't. You try something else. But if you just think about it and don't do it, life will become the same old Mandy. So I just want to encourage you to say, you are worthy, you deserve it, you'll be better off. You don't want to get sick. Look after you.
Yeah, beautiful. Thank you. And I love the idea of rest being resistance. I think it's the most beautiful thing that we can do for ourselves. So thank you, everyone. Thank you for the beautiful women for being here live and for all of those that are watching the replay. I hope you take some nuggets from this session, and I've taken lots, and I'm going to definitely put it into practice. And I look forward to seeing you at our next event. Thank you very much.
Thank you, everyone.
Yeah.